Hi everyone, I'm Glenda with SureFit Designs, and today with this video we're going to discuss your back waist length in relationship to your torso. And when you get your bodice on, a couple of different things can happen. It can fit exactly perfectly, it can be too long, it can be too short, or one side could be just right and the other side might be a little bit long. A number of different things can happen. Additionally, in this video we're going to talk about the sway back and how to make modifications and refinements for that. So let's get started. We're going to take a look at this mannequin with this bodice on. Now, I intentionally made it too long and too big so that you could see what was happening in this particular situation. For the length of the actual torso, this bodice is too long. When I put my hand in the small of the back for the mannequin, you can see how much longer the actual bodice is. This black stitching line right here is actually the stay stitching line that indicates the waist. So if I was to pull it up into waist position, you can see all the excess length I've got, which is unnecessary. And as we follow that around to the front of the bodice, again, we've got too much excess length. And so an easy refinement for this is simply to take an even tuck or pinch out all the way around the front and the back bodice. Pin it out, stitch it out, try it on, and if you like it, all you're going to do is go to your pattern, and where you pinch that out is you're going to cut the pattern apart, front and back, and overlap the full amount of that tuck that you've pinched out. And actually, I've got a photograph here of a customer who did that, and you can see that when she pinned it out, stitched it out, and put the bodice on, that the torso ended up fitting her properly. One of the reasons that this might have occurred is that when you are actually doing your shoulder to waist level measurement, which is one of the measurements that you're supposed to do to get all of your pattern going, that shoulder over the apex down to your waist, you may have measured yourself a little bit too long. It's really easy for this waist elastic to shift as you're moving around, and sometimes for some of you it's just difficult to identify where your waist is. So that's why that might have occurred. Another situation could occur, and this particular customer, Linda, who sent me this photograph, said, the front of my bodice length is absolutely fine for my body, but you can see that the back's too long. What do I do about that? Well, once again, what I'm going to recommend that you do is take some of this and pin it out. But in this circumstance, we're not going to pin it out all the way around to the front because the front was fitting just fine. So you start in the back and you pin out a designated amount, and you will just have to experiment with that. I'm going to start off with about 1/4 inch here, but then I'm going to taper to absolutely nothing at the side seam, because do remember that the front of the bodice fit properly. And of course you take that pinning all the way across to the other side seam like this. And then once it's pinned out, you will try it on and see if it fit. And Linda did exactly that and sent me this photograph. And she and I think, must have miscommunicated a little bit, because she put her pins up a little bit higher than I normally recommend. But the resulting effect is still the same. You can see how that shortened the bodice without her affecting or shortened the back of the bodice without it affecting the actual side seam length. So in order to make that refinement on your pattern, then what you're going to do is come to your back bodice, and whatever the total width of that little tuck was at center back, you need to take that off at the waist edge. So because the tuck was 1/4 inch, it means the full amount is 1/2 inch, and I've marked that in. And I usually just pencil things in first of all, and in this case you go to absolutely nothing at the waistline. And then come along with your designing stylus and connect it all together and blend and true. And the thing to know when you're doing this shortening at center back is that for approximately 3/4 to 1 inch, you're going to want to make this portion of it exactly at a right angle to center back. And that's so that when you open this up, because center back's on the fold of the fabric, you don't get a dramatic upside down V, an inverted V there. You want this to be flat coming into center back. And then what you'll do is, as I said, blend or true down, going to absolutely nothing at the waist point. Now you can see what's happened is it has automatically started to narrow the width of that dart, because as you come further up this triangle, the triangle of course gets narrower. So you would go back to your SureFit Designs Waist Darts template, which is found within your dress kit, and reposition, it's dart number 3, bodice back dart, just reposition that, line it up, and then redraw that back fitting dart like this. It does add a little bit of extra length to the back of that dart tip, but you know your darts can be longer or shorter, stitched in a concave or convex curve. It's whatever you need to best suit your particular body shape. So that's how you would make the refinement on your pattern for a long back waist in relationship to a short front torso. But now let's take a look at the sway back situation. And we'll take a look at this illustration. On the sway back, we all have a natural S-curve to our spine, but some of you dip in a little bit more at the small of your back than others, and we call that a sway back. Well, the typical refinement or alteration for that is to shorten that center back waist length, just as I did in this particular example. But first of all, please make sure that you do eliminate the potential causes for something that looks like a sway back. You might have a very, very large, prominent high hip or full hip, and if the circumference of your blouse or dress isn't big enough down there, it will automatically try to get fullness from wherever it can, which is lower down, and it'll push it up into the back. I've just written an article in the SureFit Designs Learning Center. In the article library, you'll find that on the sway back, how to identify it, what might be causing the look of it, and how to do all the refinements. So along with this video, I do encourage you to go to that website, the SureFit Designs Learning Center. Now, one other thing that you can do for a sway back is this, and that is to add a seam down the center of the back of your bodice. And I already hear a lot of you groaning, and I know you're not going to want to do that, but you know the purpose of a seam. It's used to conform a flat piece of fabric to the curvatures of your body. So if you have a seam down the back, in this small of your back, once you've shortened the bodice, if you still have some excess fullness that you want to remove, then all you do is come in on that seam and stitch it in a slight curve, pulling that fabric into shape your back. And of course, if you had a rounded back shoulder or a dowager's hump, that seam would be even more important. So don't throw out the seam concept before you've tried it, because you really can get an excellent fit. So when you're over in the SureFit Designs Learning Center, also go to the video library, where you're going to see all kinds of complimentary videos to help you get the very best fit possible that you can with your SureFit Designs body blueprint.